So I am one of those people who always have the idea of I really want to take cool action figure shots, and I keep getting more and more resources to do it, but then I never actually do. So like I spend money on backdrops and big projects that I never really follow through with, and this is kind of one of the same things. So I found these Ultimate Wrestling Fans figures on Amazon, and I figured they'd be just kind of perfect background characters, because usually with like Marvel Legends, if you have like a background character, it would be like, you know, schoolboy Peter Parker or Ned from No Way Home, and they're a little bit too recognizable. So these Ultimate Wrestling Fans figures kind of work as generic background people. They do look a little bit cartoony, but I picked up a couple of them, and I'm going to compare them with Marvel Legends and just in general kind of show them off. I also did buy another police because I figured you need 2 police officers, and then this Ultimate Event Staff guy, because my plan was to turn him into Cole from Infamous, because he has a yellow t-shirt, but I'm not really sure anymore. We'll get more into it. So just opening up one of these boxes, they're packaged pretty cheaply. Like, this isn't a big company at all, so you kind of take what you get, and I don't really mind this type of packaging. It's very simple, easy to throw away. And you have the figure right here. He comes with an alternate screaming expression and some hands. And the hands are just easily swappable. You just pull them out and then you put them back in. So there's no real trouble there. The articulation is pretty alright. It's not great, but it's alright. So head can tilt. Can't really look up or down at all, and he can look side to side really well. He's got a butterfly joint here. That's actually surprisingly good. His joints are a little bit stiff, but his arms go all the way out. Down like that. If you want them like close to his sides, it's a little bit hard. So what I like to do is I try to like fold it up here and then get every single last millimeter out of the bend as possible, and then you can cheat it like a little bit by bending his elbow inwards and twisting this swivel joint here. He's got a waist swivel, and he's also got this upper torso joint that's honestly kind of useless. It's very, very stiff, and it doesn't really do much. Yeah, could do without this joint probably. His legs kick less than 90. He has double jointed knees, really stiff again. And then he's got a hinged foot that doesn't have a rocker. You can get him to, you can't have him like be on, you know, like one knee and aim his gun or anything, because the articulation just doesn't really allow for it. This is the best you can have, and it looks kind of daft. Then this belt here is a soft rubber piece, so it doesn't really get in the way. And then he also comes with a gun in his holster. It's kind of like a generalized standard handgun, but any Marvel Legends gun will probably work too. So we just swap the hand like so. Put in the trigger finger hand, and you can just have a gun. Again, he's a little bit hard to pose because his articulation is so stiff, but I assume that's gonna loosen up over time. He also has a swivel up here that I completely missed. So he looks really good with his hand like so, holding a gun. You take a closer look at the head. It's kind of like the old Mattel, that the eyes are really well applied, but he doesn't really have any sort of like detail in the face. His eyes are just on point, and he's got some eyebrows, and then the rest is just cast plastic. Again, he's a background character, so I don't really mind. But if you want to like have him next to a modern Marvel Legends figure, it might look a little bit off. So you probably don't want to show off the lack of detail. Furthermore, we can change the head. Put this screaming head on. Skin tones don't completely match, but it's fine. And now we have a screaming head. You can also take a closer look at the height discrepancy here. He is ever so slightly shorter than Cap, but this hat makes him go slightly above. It's a decent enough scale. I assume Cap is like 6'4" or 6'3", so he is a little bit on the tall side, but these are also made for the Mattel WWE figures, which are more of kind of like a 7-inch S scale. They're a lot bigger than Marvel Legends. But let's continue on with the other figures. Okay, so here are the rest of the figures unboxed, and we can take a look at them. I originally was the most interested in finally having like a child-sized 6-inch scale figure. And again, the line is a little bit cartoony looking, so you can see her face here. It's very pouty. Her eyes are really big and cartoony, and it kind of looks like it comes from like an old newspaper comic strip. So they won't really like mix too well with Marvel Legends, like if you compare like faces and stuff, like general styles, but they'll do fine for background characters. The articulation is really good too. She has probably the best articulation out of all of them, to be honest. Like she can get into like a very deep kind of like pose here, and then her arms double jointed, elbows, and she still has that butterfly joint here. The thing is, her upper body joint is really loose. Like you can just tell how it's flopping around. It's the same goes for like all of these. They're not all loose, but they're all useless. You can't really do anything with them. So it would just be a lot better if the sculpt was one piece. It would also be cheaper to produce, I'm pretty sure, and just ditch this stupid joint here because it does literally nothing. She also comes with some extra hands here. She has a phone in one of the hands, and pretty much like all the figures come with different hands, and they're all the same pretty much, just slightly different sizes. Like this fat guy has some bigger hands, the child has smaller hands, and then the woman has slightly smaller hands and some nail polish, and then the male hands are just really generic, but they all have phones on them, and I think that's because these are wrestling figures, so in a crowd they would all just be filming and whatnot. Take another look at this guy and this guy, because these actually share the same body. It's just this one has a kind of softish rubber overlay, as you can see here. Also, if you look here, you can see that it's the exact same figure underneath. The sculpt work is pretty weird. This is not how t-shirts work. It's almost as if this neck joint was supposed to be its own piece, but then they scrapped that mid-production. Another thing is that the styles aren't really that consistent. Like this redneck guy here, he has so much expression to his face, and he looks quite cartoony, especially with how the black inside of his mouth creates this like cel-shaded look. Meanwhile, this guy just looks like a kind of cheap Fisher-Price action figure of a normal looking dude. So they don't really have a cohesive style except for the bodies. And that's fine. Like these ones work a lot better with Marvel Legends, I feel. But you can also have this guy work as some crazy hooligan, I guess. Same thing goes for this woman here. She is stuck in a constantly terrified facial expression, and it's kind of a little bit too cartoony as well. Again, we can take these in for comparison. For a photo shoot, they'll work. Like if a police catches her shoplifting or something and she's terrified, I mean, it works. Or Captain America finds her shoplifting, it also works. A little bit too cartoony for a general display, but for certain situational photos, it works perfectly fine. This torso sculpt here is really weird. It seems like this was supposed to be a lower cut than what they actually painted. Actually, I can see... Okay, so this is actually a sculpted bra, or like a sports bra or something. You can see the lines here, like the straps, and then the straight line here. So I think these were supposed to be like wrestling figures from the start, and then they just repainted all the bodies. I don't think Wrestling Figures has a sports bra female figure though, but that's most likely the reason. Furthermore, she has a rubbery skirt that's sitting a little bit too high up, if you ask me. Again, you can tell that this is a nude body because she has a belly button sculpted in. The skirt kind of kills any decent articulation here for the legs, but she can bend decently. She can get into a decent running pose, I guess. And then none of these figures, like I mentioned earlier, has any sort of like ankle rocker, so unfortunately they're a bit limited in that sense. Lastly, we have the fat guy variant, and again, this joint up here, completely useless. I don't know what's going on up here. He looks even cartoonier than the rest because his head is gigantic, and I'm not really sure if this is gonna work. Like, I appreciate that this figure exists, but he just doesn't look particularly great. He also has these horrid elbow articulation, And this is kind of like what McFarlane is doing on the regular for like knees and elbows. Like I remember the Peacemaker figure has some elbows very, very similar to these, and they just look terrible because there's so much of a gap. And then he has hips and knees, and these knees look terrible as well. Wasn't really fond of this fat guy here, but again, in the background, he might look good. So that was my little run through of these Wrestling Fans figures. Do I recommend them? For photos, yes. They're slightly oversized. This guy is even taller than Cap, but the police in particular I think works really well. And then it's really cool to have some child-sized figures. So if you're interested, they're on Amazon. I think the police were like 25 bucks each, and then this 4-pack here was $79.99 I think, so 20 bucks each. Pretty decent considering like everything you get. So they're just fun to have on the shelf, and they also come with some pretty neutral fodder pieces as well. Like these pants are really good. These legs are more articulated than the police for some reason, and he can get into like a pretty decent crouching pose, unlike the police. So there's that. He also comes with normal shoes, which is pretty rare. The only figure I can think of that comes with shoes like these are like Shang-Chi. So really good fodder line for like street clothed figures and also background characters. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in a bit.